In case someone doesn't know, my name is Jim Cronin. I'm a half-breed. And like circumstances, Christy Hennessy, I had a great time for him singing, but he used to have a verse about Kerry. And basically it said, no one knows you're living, but oh jealous heart, how you lied, you let me go without a word. I travelled far, set no roots, and seeds I sown, they now have grown, you never told me, jealous heart. Going back to the slides here now, which you was it? I was hoping with you God without getting carried away. George has covered the history, he's covered the importance of the GAA, and more so now when our games are hurling, Gaelic football and our language identify us, and we never had a border in the playing of our GAA games. The first picture here now, San Francisco. I hadn't seen this before, but there's a relation here. During the Parnell time, and it was 1892, we were long formed, and there's, I think the sexton. This man, and he played our games in the States. We move on then to the slip, which this slip now is the Cronin brothers from Lyre. It's 4 of them joined the army. My father, Jimmy, Paddy, they joined on the same day, and they're actually part of the history of Ireland. They went training in 1938. They played with Destroy, and were picking potatoes and burning stones to create land. So they borrowed a bike to go into Killarney, enlisted in what was known as the Free State Army, and they were in the Guard of Honour when Spike Island, Bearhaven and Fort Dunree in Donegal, they were in Spike, was handed back by the British, and Lyre came over in the boat with Frank Aiken. So they were part of the history of this country, and it kept us out of the Second World War by the fact of our ports being neutral. Now, without diverting again, this particular team, this is the Cronins' team, or the army team, which during the war years, in order to keep the men active, the army and the guards, they formed teams, and originally it was the combined services, but this particular Cronins' team, Spike, contributed to them. Now, the man with the ring around here, that's Paddy Cronin. Some say he was the best of the three, and you can go into history. I often had a couple of points with Paddy, and he gave me a history of what went on with him playing illegally and Teddy O'Connor playing illegally, that I'm not going to bore you. But the reason that Paddy didn't make the Cork team is because the Kerry County Board had several photographs of Paddy lining up for teams in Dingle under a different name. There's one man there now who's my chauffeur. He's Michael. He's the mascot. He's here. And my late father, Timmy Joe, and Johnny, they make up a quartet. There's a couple of Bear Island men, and they won Cork County in 1949, 1951 and 1953 after a replay against UCC, who had players like Paddy Sheehy, Jim Brosnan and Bobby Buckley and Paddy Tyers and Dennis Bernard from Cork. It was one of the greatest matches ever played for the Cork County Championship. So that's a kind of a history of that particular photograph. So you go, we move on. As was said by George in his opening statement, he played with Liz Troy, Paddy Cronin and Jim Cronin. They were working with farmers, and before they decided to borrow the bike, I'm not going to go into whether they stole it or borrowed it, but they got it anyway and signed on in Kerry. So this Troy was our team. This was the start of Cork football. We get over it. Cork hadn't won since 1928, and in 1943, and it was during the war years, and petrol was rationed, and at that time there was no way that anyone who had joined the army had a hope of playing with Kerry, or even attempted. You played, if you wanted to play Gaelic football, where you were. So Cork defeated Kerry in the semi-final in 1943 after a replay, and as my father there, he was on the Cork team, Eamon Young, Weeshy Murphy, and that was their first breakthrough. They were beaten by a point by Cavan in the semi-final, and Cavan lost to Roscommon in the final. So that's the history of that photograph. Jack Lynch is also surrounded there. He was a member of that team. So we'll move on. We're only up to 1943. Now this is the All-Ireland team of 1945. It was the first time that Kerry decided to do a bit of training, because Cork had developed a team, and there was a lot of training with army men. So there was 6 or 7 army men on that photograph. And my father again in the arrow, Jack Lynch in the back, Ty Crowley, but you had a chap, Tuberty, he'd be young man now on the Late Show, would be his nephew. He was a clear man. He was a show jumper in the army. That's in there, and there was a couple of more who were members of the Defence Forces, and they defeated Cavan 2-3 to 7 points, and it was a great jubilation in Cork, because Jack Lynch got a 6 in a row and they hadn't won for ages, and it showed that with the training that anything can happen. Having said that, he still carried the love for Kerry. The half-breed now, which I am, and a few more, that has thinned out. We haven't, what we call, we like Kerry to win, but we don't like them to win every year. This is a junior team now, and the Cork County champions again, Eamon Young, and there's the big man, Johnny, and Paddy, and there's and Timmy. I must say about Timmy that Timmy was a marvellous man as a selector during those times, and he was also a selector of the Cork football team. Mostly Kerry would slip him, but 1948, that particular year, as a bit of useless information, my father was picked to go training for the Irish basketball team because the Olympics were in London, but he wanted to play for Munster, and he played for Munster and won the Railway Cup 1948. Tom Mixpillan's father, and there was a Tom Spillane playing midfield, and Joe Johan and Paddy Vaughan. So he put the Munster team before a chance of qualifying for the Olympics, which was in London. So we're ready to move on. You go. Now we have another, that's the 49 team. I'll be very quick with this now. Three brothers and Timmy, a selector there, hammered Cronin in the replay. First match was a draw, really hammered them and captured the cup and gave a bit of pride to the army, and we'll move on now again. Now, this is the semi-final of 1949, they beat Kerry. Oh, sorry, my history's wrong. Kerry somehow lost on their way and they beat Clare in the Munster final. So, Farah and John, they were both members of the Munster team that year, and they lost again to Cavan and lost again by a point. This now is the most important picture here.
Who's the mascot here?
No, hold on.
Hey, who's the mascot here?
This one now is as a result of the army winning in 49. Johnny was captain of Cork in 1950. So they were beaten by Kerry in the Munster final. Now, I'll just go through it there. There's my father in this photograph. There's Johnny. There's Timmy Joe. But the man with the ball there, he's a bit of a, what you call, a failed politician. That's myself. We'll move down to 51 now, and here again, I say we saw that one before, that there's the Cronins again, and Timmy, and Michael is the mascot. Okay, you go.
And Jimmy, Patrick, Kerry, as they call him in Cork, played with the Dick Fitzes that they're now the Dr. Crow.
Sorry, Angela?
He used to play with the Dick Fitzes in the army.
Well, no, I'm after being informed here, and what other team did you play with?
Well, he played with the Dick Fitzes, and so did David Griffin.
So poor old Paddy is condemned anyway, in fairness to Angela. She's condemned her brother that he played illegally. and I think she's dead right.
And David Griffin of the Milltown, Griffin of Castlemaine, and what's his name? Keller, Brendy Keller.
Now this particular photograph, there's a story about this, and they say I have to use the word alleged, because when you're going through items of history, if you use the word alleged with the libel laws and the slander, what came about is there was a man called Jack Bean O'Brien trained the Cork team, and he trained them to win the National League in 1952. Cork had lost to Tipperary in the hurling, but had beaten Dublin in 1952 and had started the 3-in-a-row run. Jack Bean O'Brien was only in rank a private, but he was a very good trainer from Tipperary. However, at a meeting of the Cork County Board, they changed the name from trainer to coach, appointed Jim Barry to give him a trip to the States as coach. With that, Eamon Young, who was captain of Cronins and was captain of the National League team in '52, refused to go. He went to my father and John and Niall Fitzgerald, but my father's reply, and it was Paddy Godriston gave me the answer my father gave Eamon Young. Eamon, I admire your principle. I'll never get a chance out of the GAA to go to New York. The crowd with the power have said that Jim Barry is the trainer, and by Jesus, I'm going to New York. And with that, Johnny went with him, and just in case we think I'll be anti-Eamon Young, he gave an oration 20 years ago at my father's funeral, and he gave a marvellous oration about him and the encouragement he did. So it's only another example of, you talk about professionalism coming in. At that time, the Cork County Board, they hadn't what we'd say the gumption or the love of football to pay for another 2 or 3 men to send them to a trip. It shows my father shaking hands with the mayor of New York, mayor in Kerry in October 1952. Ready, you go? Un momento. The Cork arrived in New York. This is October 18th, and that's the team there now. John and Jim together, Erie Duggan and Tom Moriarty over there, Kellyman, who transferred. So we move on to Kellogg. That's the Army team, the cartoon made up in '53 when they defeated College. They're surrounded again with the three boys, Penny's after killing West, in the corner.
It's the trainer up the top left.
So, the All Army Cup, the Southern Command then was formed. They used to have football matches, Western Command things, and the 3 of them are there having won the All Army Championship. So that's the background to that picture. You go. Here we come now to, yes, this is a Cork presentation. Oh, Kerry. Kerry didn't win in All-Ireland since 1946, since Paddy Burke from Milltown buried the ball in the back of the net in a replay, and they beat Roscommon. So 46 to 53 is a long time for Kerry. In the Munster final in 1952, Cork beat Kerry 11 points to 2. Kerry only got 2 points in 60 minutes of football, so an inquest started amongst the Kerry selectors, and they sent out appeals for people to come back that had played with Kerry, or were born in Kerry, sorry. My father was at the end of his career, but John, Ned Roach, and Tom Moriarty returned. Now, I have this from John's own lips, and he's in his grave, and I hope there is a heaven and an afterlife. So I'll not be lying him inside this Milltown Hall, but I'll tell you what he said to me at pub fair. Now, we had a couple of pints now. He told me that Ned Rhodes was a commandant. He was well up in the army, he had a big pension, no problem. And that Tom Moriarty, big job in the bank, so he had no problem either. But a Kerry supporter did a deal with Teddy O'Connor's pub in Killarney, allegedly, and paid over a brown envelope to John Joe Sheehy, which never went through the books, for the equivalent of 4 pints of Guinness a night to be paid, the value to be paid into Teddy O'Connor's pub in Killarney. Now, John at that time was actually 30, and some thought his best years were over, but there was no legal documents or anything, but he told me that it was true, and that when he'd ever go into Teddy O'Connor's, that his drinking day would be free. So he must have been the first footballer that was transferred without monetary compensation. This year then, they thought they'd beat Meath in the final the following year, and I think they underestimated the Meath team. Tom Moriarty there again, and my Uncle John, and they were well beaten on the day. Jackie Lyne, Dixie Palmer, Paddy Shenwell, we all know about them. Sean Kerry, he'd have been an uncle of this former president, exactly, and Jim Brosnan. So we move away from that now, they don't lose too many. 55 then was the year they catch and kick the new style of football, and Kerry were the underdogs. They beat Cavan, and Dublin beat Mayo, and it was 2 replays, and this was the year that started the rivalry. Ollie Freeney, Kevin Heffernan, Paddy Flaherty, they were beginners, they were all fairly confident of winning, but Kerry beat them in the catch and kick, and John was on Ollie Freeney, and he held them scoreless in the last 6 minutes when Ollie Freeney got a 14-yard free and got a goal, but Kerry still had 3 points to spare. So that's the famous 55 team that with Dr. Lehman, that's surprised the Dubs, and the rivalry is still there. You go. This is Paddy with a hurley. He was doing that hurley by an old diarrhea man, so he said he'd stand in goal and he'd get a photograph taken. These other photographs then are when they joined the army, having joined in 38, where Paddy has the cup there after winning the junior. That's John and my father, and this is the combined services again, the army, my father. And that was about 1939, 40 when they came to be on duty, watching for a German invasion, and the rest of the day we spent training and getting fit, as I said, a different era altogether. I should go. We're back again, the Collinses, and they're the 3 years they won the junior 48, 49 the senior, 51 the senior, and 53 the senior, and they They stand out again, Timmy, Joe, Paddy, my father and John. That's a particular record here now, I think. Or I can say that, George, you were on the same team that won the East Kerry. In this try in 1937, so that's a record there of my father's win. He was also fairly handy he was the Cruiserweight Army boxing champion, and he was also good at tug of war. Just as a comment about, in case you'd be worried about me, I was born very premature. My mother had high blood pressure, so I was regarded as a bit of a clancy in the brain, thank God, and she put it through when I put it through. So physical, I used to play in goals, but physical, what you call sports, were not equipped to my skinny frame. Right, Joker. Now we have...
No, go back.
We go back down to the first one to get the girls.
No, Johnny.
Oh, I wanted to John also. John Cronin's record here, so he won Munster medals 1952. He actually won 149 as well, but and then in Kerry he got the two All-Irelands and he got 3 Munster medals, 53, 54 and 55. So that's basically a record of John's. And just as a point of interest, that the 2 All-Ireland medals, they're over in the vault in Malmö in Sweden, which my brother has kept away in a nice condition. They were going to be purchased to someone outside the family, no disrespect, and I suppose they're well paid in Sweden. He stepped in anyway, and his name is John, and those 2 medals are over there, and they say there's a better type of gold in them than they're making now. Here's 2 of the most beautiful women in Kerry. Angela and Eileen, and their offspring behind them, and there's Grandma sitting with the power, the stories I could say about that person, what a survivor. And it's a pity they hadn't some better treatment then for arthritis, but she was one, I'd say, tough granny with a heart of gold. And one comment that I did hear her say when I was a young fella, but I would take no notice: there was no one good enough for her daughters. Now we have people I didn't speak about. Michael had to earn his living in England, and he fought in the Second World War, and he went on, studied to be a teacher, Dermot, joined the Irish Army. I was told at 16 and was captain, went across to England and ended up with the fire brigade. And one of my brief acquaintances with Dermot in Larkin's pub, Maggie Thatcher's name came up, and all of a sudden there was a belt on the counter, and the whole place took poise, and I discovered that there was one name not to be mentioned beside my name. The other 450, I must be honest and say, I never met Arthur, and he emigrated too. His wife died at 30, I think, in childbirth, and in fairness to the other two boys, Dermot and Michael, they reared the family, and when you think of life, that's a marvellous tribute. When I know myself like that to my own wife, and at that times like that, people were put into industrial schools if they hadn't somewhere to go. So in a way, while they might have been famous in the football field, certainly their decency, courage and love of humanity was up there amongst the best.
Great.
Now we have a gathering, a famous gathering of 7 boys and 2 girls, all together there, and it's great credit. That time, without getting into religion, if you have a big family, have the big family, that's God's will. And when you had the big family, then there's only one could get to the farm. Or maybe the farm wouldn't be viable, so you'd be told, off you go now and make your way in the world. But I think there's such a thing now called birth control, which the Pope is having a look at. But that's for the future, because they're after finding now the Pope, but you're after finding some flaws in Scripture that there's not a mention of whether marriage has preference for procreation or mutual love of the couple. But I won't go into that now, that's a bit